This NBA world is a delicate thing, man. Ever think about how the smallest of calls can change the entire fate of NBA history? With the playoffs well underway, it's time to explore the potential legacies at stake. What would winning a championship mean for each team with the shot this year?
Who stands to benefit the most? How would a chip change how we view the biggest stars? We're looking at how this year's playoffs could reshape the future of the NBA. The playoffs are here. The time is now. So let's get into it.
We're going to start with the bowels of the play-in, even shouting out the now eliminated playoff hopefuls, kicking it off with the Atlanta Hawks, who would be living in a Trae Young fever dream if this ever came true.
Facts, man. This would be the franchise's first chip since the 50s. It'd also be an all-time told you so moment, meaning the Hawks front office got it right with the controversial draft day trade of Luka Doncic for Trae Young.
We'd snap our fingers and we're in a world where all Trae Young stats now have meaning. Him and DeJounte look like Steph and Dame. He's led the Hawks to a finals win and now is squarely in the conversation for the franchise's greatest player.
Moving up in the East, but not far, is my Chicago Bulls. As you guys know, it's the Windy City. Had to throw on the Nike Tech. Things are looking pretty cold and chilly in Chicago, man. But winning a championship in this day and age would bring back some pride, bring back some respect for a franchise that sorely needs it.
What kind of distorted MJ magic is hanging around the halls with this one? This would be monumental for the city. But with Levine out, this would mean DeMar DeRozan really filled the shadow for about 18 wins.
I'll keep dreaming. Next up, the 76ers. If they won a championship, Sam Hinkie would be somewhere smiling. A final triumph for tanking as the Sixers successfully trusted the process. Riding Embiid off of a regular season where he played in just 5 of the final 36 games would be the best player on the planet behavior.
He's shown flashes, but to get this done, it'd mean he figured out a way to sustain his health and his conditioning long enough to bring Philly its first title in 40 years. Now let's shift on to the team that's played the best record in the league, Celtics, better than anyone else in recent history. Should the Heat clinch another championship, Jimmy Butler would have made good on his promise to deliver the Larry O'Brien trophy to Miami. For the 4th time ever, and first since the Big Three were dominating the East, the Heat would be world champs.
There would also arguably be a bigger story of the Celtics being a massive disappointment, rampaging through the regular season just to lose to their kryptonite Miami Heat yet again. Next is one of the 10 existing teams that have not yet won a title, the 47-win Indiana Pacers. If they found a way to make this happen, it would do wonders for how we view Pascal Siakam. He'd be widely accepted as a winner, having been a key part of championship teams. A Pacers title would also mean Tyrese Halliburton exacted his revenge on the Kings for trading him, and would probably be considered the greatest young player in the game. Following the Pacers, the Orlando Magic are another team that has not yet secured the Larry O'Brien trophy, but doing so would ironically prove 3rd time's the charm.
Not in 95 with Shaq and Penny, not in 09 with Prime Dwight, but they do it with Bonchero and Wagner. Nah, we're not going to have him.
Next up, man, the Cleveland Cavaliers, whose last championship gave us this special moment.
It's over! It's over!
A 3-1 comeback against what was the best regular season team in NBA history. Will that ever be topped? Probably not, but if it did, it would catapult Donovan Mitchell to best player in the league conversations.
It'd mean the gaudy numbers he's put up since he entered the league are all real. He'd be the new age Dwayne Wade with a chip to verify. Now to the Knicks. As a native New Yorker that's seen this franchise with pie on his face far too many times, for them to secure a championship would be an indescribable feeling. It would light the city on fire.
It marked the fastest rise from bench player to 1A top 5 guy in league history. It also means that Mark Cuban's legacy as a Mavs owner went from savvy innovator to billionaire who fumbled the bag. Brunson would be a constant reminder of Cuban letting a second franchise point guard walk for nothing.
Turning our attention to the Milwaukee Bucks, a victory from them would remove Damian Lillard from the notorious list of greatest players to never win a ring. The Bucks aren't exactly desperate, having just won in 2021, but another win this year would enhance Giannis's legacy and put him on the cusp of the top 10 greatest to ever play the game.
Facts, man. And rounding out the Eastern Conference with the favorites, the Boston Celtics. And if we're just looking at the top players, there's a good argument Tatum has the most to gain. He's one of the more forgotten about superstars, but with his first finals win after knocking on the door so many times before, this could propel him to face of the league status.
All facts. And with the way this team is set up, all their key players being locked in for the long haul, it's got all the makings of the league's next dynasty. All right, that wraps up the East. But before we tell you about the West, we have to shout out our new sponsor, Baden Sports. Yeah, y'all. The weather's getting nice. It's time to go outside, get those buckets. You're going to need an outdoor ball and some allergy medicine to go with it because it's crazy out there. But just know the plug got you for one of those.
Yes, sir, man. They've got everything from budget balls, or pause. They've got everything from budget price range basketballs to premier NBA level game balls, man. Whatever you need, they got it over at Baden, man. And don't forget, promo code hoop_plug_ BadenSports.com to get 10% off on whatever you need.
That's a lot of balls.
Facts, man. Facts, man. Speaking of a lot of balls, all right, let's go get into the Western Conference. Had the Golden State Warriors found a way to win this year's title, it would have started with dethroning King James's Lakers in the play-in and ended with discussions of who's had the better career.
No joke. Steph at that point would be considered by many as the greatest player of all time. I wouldn't agree with those people because of the defensive end, but 5 rings is hard to argue with. On to the Lakers, who have not had an easy year, but turning the season into a championship one would mean that everything fell into place. They'd have an NBA leading 18 Larry O'Briens, and Bron would have 5 rings.
Yes, sir. That's right. 5 rings. Still one less than Jordan. And another trip for LA would mean Skip Bayless would spend a whole summer moving the goalposts. LeBron would have defeated Father Time again. And ESPN would be intolerable with who's the GOAT debates all summer.
The next team up is the Sacramento Kings. And after last year's success, it's hard to believe they didn't make it past the play-in this season. The Kings haven't won a title since 1951. And with that longer drought and this franchise's less than impressive history, winning a title would shine bright lights on the coaching job Mike Brown has, quite frankly, already done.
Facts, man. In 2 years, he's revitalized this offense, most out of his star players, and most importantly, he's won basketball games. Sacramento hadn't gotten into the playoffs in almost 2 decades before he got there. It would be huge for the franchise. To the last team from the play-in out west, the Phoenix Suns. Now knowing what happened and how this team folded like a lawn chair, if they were able to capture their first ever championship, it would vindicate KD of the "you can only win with Steph" narrative.
It'd mean 3 rings and 3 final MVPs for the sniper, a feat only matched by Tim Duncan, Shaquille O'Neal, and Magic Johnson, and only topped by the 2 greatest to ever live, Jordan and LeBron. Next up, the New Orleans Pelicans. A championship win would mean we all owe Zion Williamson an apology. Let that boy eat whatever he wants.
Facts, man. Believe it or not, the Pelicans have not only never won a title, they've never made it past the second round of the playoffs. Following the Pelicans are the Dallas Mavericks, who with a win would be absolved of all transgressions letting Jalen Brunson leave. A ring for Luka would also mean he replaces his European brethren as the best player in today's NBA. It'd also be 2 for Kyrie, who'd have an argument as the greatest 1B of all time. To win it all with Luka in a fit that we all thought was clunky at best, that'd really be something.
Next up, we have the Clippers. Imagine this. Kawhi, PG, Russ, Harden, all healthy, all happy, hitting their stride and breaking the curse for their hometown Clippers. Out of the Lakers' shadow they'd go and into their new Inglewood Arena as champions.
PG, Russ, Harden, they'd be erased from the list of greats to never win a chip. Kawhi might also enter elusive company as just the 6th player with 3 finals MVPs, sparking debates about his status among the game's greats.
Now let's get into a team led by one of the brightest young stars in the game, the Minnesota Timberwolves. A championship would represent a monumental achievement for this franchise. It'd mean their GM was right, trading all those picks for the 7-foot French big man. And it'd mean Anthony Edwards would be the undisputed face of the NBA. The chase for Jordan would be on. Ant would have his first chip and finals MVP at the age of 22, 6 years younger than Michael.
Yeah, man. following the T-Wolves of the reigning champ Denver Nuggets. Going back-to-back would have two big ripple effects. One, we can sound the alarm. The NBA would have its newest dynasty. And two, the Joker would have capped one of the greatest 4-year stretches of basketball ever seen, probably enough to land him in the top 10 all time.
Assuming he wins this year's regular season MVP, it'd be 3 MVPs, 2 finals MVPs, and the highest player efficiency rating ever witnessed, all in a 4-year stretch. Last up is, in my opinion, the biggest surprise of the regular season, Oklahoma City Thunder. Capturing the championship this year could be seen as the most remarkable rebuild in NBA history. And for the second time under Sam Presti, the Thunder would be champions in the West with a core of young stars you could dream on, a dynasty in the making. Could they make it happen? Or more importantly, will they be able to keep their talented young core together long enough to find out? Only time will tell. But as the 2024 playoffs draw on, most of the scenarios we laid out will fall flat. But one of them will stand the test of time.
If you want your hairline to stand the test of time, you already know where to go, man. It's EvanAlexanderGrooming.com. You know what I'm saying? Todd, tell them what to do when they get there.
For the smooth 20% off, plug in that promo code hoop_plug_. Act now. Till next time.
Put some flavor in your ear.